Hey everybody, this is Erica from the Classy Climb blog, coming today out of beautiful outside Austin, Texas. I'm here with David Williams out of New York. He's an author, he's an entrepreneur, he's a perfume creator. His book is called An Eagle's Eye with a Lion's Heart. How are you doing today, David?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Great. I got some great questions for you today, and so hopefully you have time. Uh, so where did you grow up, David, and how did it affect you being the entrepreneur you are now?
I grew up in Queens. I was born in Brooklyn, but raised in Queens. Manhattan is my stomping grounds. That's where I spend a lot of my time. Um, and I actually didn't get into entrepreneurship until I was about 25. I kind of got bit by the entrepreneur bug because I saw on my Facebook page a lot of people that were getting into entrepreneurship themselves. And so it was kind of like a domino effect. You know, I saw the life that they were living for themselves, and I just kind of just was blown away by the lifestyle that they had. You know, they were able to um, travel whenever they wanted to, you know, with whoever they wanted to. And so I uh, thought about how could I get into that kind of world. And so from there, I kind of narrowed it down because before I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like first, I was into psychology, and then I was into music, and then I was into um, swimming, and then I was into firefighting, and then I was into like law enforcement. So I went through possibly every career path that you could think of that I thought about doing before I got to entrepreneurship, and then it actually suited me perfectly because for one, I don't like being micromanaged, and a lot of the things that I wanted to do involved being micromanaged because I would always be with somebody who was watching my every move, and that's like a big pet peeve for me. So even though entrepreneurship was my last career choice, it ended up being my best career choice because nobody is on top of you. Now, granted, of course, you know, there are times where you need encouragement and stuff. So there are people to encourage you, but overall, nobody is on top of you about what you should be doing. So that was the moment that said, all right, this is what I want to do. And then also, not only that, but um, entrepreneurship runs in the family. My grandfather was an entrepreneur as well. So that just kind of just amplified my already driven nature to become an entrepreneur because it's like, all right, now that I know that it runs in the family, I want to keep that going. So that's kind of like my, because every entrepreneur has a why. So that's my why right now. You know, I want to keep that going because my grandfather he worked hard to get to where he was and the lifestyle that he had. So right now I'm concerned with following in his footsteps.
I mean, that's a really, really great answer there, David. So many people are tired of being micromanaged. They're driven, they have ideals, they have to narrow down which ideals they want to pursue. And that's great that you actually did that. You went through the process to see what would be best for me, what would work for me, what works for my personality. Do I always want someone over kind of like over top of me, And I think that's what's kind of where a lot of people are at, but don't know what to do with it. So I'm glad you know that.
Right.
So what was the biggest challenge in getting started in your business?
Oops. Um, hmm. I would say the biggest challenge in getting started, um, hmm, finding people to support what I was trying to do. Um, I would say that was definitely the biggest challenge because, as you know, when you're first starting with something, it's kind of like people, um, they say, yeah, you could do it, but they brush it off. You know, they don't think that you'll actually follow through with what you said that you would do. Um, and my first ebook uh, to go along with, my company name, it didn't come to fruition for about years because I had to work on it for 2 years. So within that 2 year time frame, you had people that believed in what I was doing. They had faith in what I was doing, but you also had people that would say, "Yeah, okay, I believe you," but they really didn't. You could tell that there was a little bit of doubt in their voice when they would say that they believed in what I was doing and what I was trying to do and stuff like that. So I would say that um, support was the main thing. I mean, I have an abundance of it now, now that my book is out. But initially in the beginning, it was support was like the toughest thing to find, especially when at the time I didn't have a business name, I didn't have flyers or anything like that I do now. So support was the toughest thing, and getting people to believe in my idea.
You know what it is? I think a lot of times where friends and family see us driven, they see us switching ideals. They like, oh, this person's very smart. They could do anything. And when you tell them at first, they're like, wait, is this just another flash in the pan ideal? Is this
Right,
actually what they want to do? And once you start putting action behind it, that's when you get more followers. It's like a train. You got the train going, it's going slow, but all of a sudden when you start picking up steam, people actually
right,
start listening and believing in what you're saying. And I think that's so, so important. Um,
right, absolutely.
for small business entrepreneurs and everyone, don't lose faith. Take action, and believers will come along the way.
Right.
Um, so how do you encourage others to get started in business? I mean, I know you probably have changed circles. You've grown on Facebook fans or Facebook people adding onto your list. How do you encourage others to get started in business?
Well, actually, I'm glad you asked me that question because I've gotten a few people that uh, have reached out to me about writing books of their own. And so one of the things that I tell them is, or ask them rather, is this something that you're sure that you want to do? Because I don't want to, especially if you're joining like a team or my team or something like that. I don't want you to say that you're all in, and then when things start to get tough, that's when you give up. Especially if somebody's mentoring you. I'm pretty sure you have a mentor of your own and people that have decided to guide you, and so following through is really important. And it doesn't even have to be books. It could be anything. Whether it's photography, whether it's web design, whether it's computers, whatever it is that you have a mentor in, following through is very important, even if it doesn't happen right away. Because I think that a lot of people, when they hear about following through, they think of, I have to do it right away. I have to do it as quick as possible, when that's not necessarily true. It's not about how long it takes you to finish, as long as you finish, as long as you finish what you said you were going to do. And that's one of the things that I tell people, because especially when you're on the road to like success or anything like that, it is not a straight and narrow path. It's not and that's something that a lot of people think it is. They think that it's just um, you sit down, decide to do something, and then it's done. No, it's not how it works. So success is a process, just like anything else. And so one of the main things I tell people is just to follow through, and have a positive attitude to go along with what you're following through about. Because I do study the law of attraction, and having the positive attitude, it affects your ability to follow through. If it's something you're excited about, then you're a lot more eager to follow through. But if you're not happy about what you're doing, then you're probably not gonna give it 120%.
Man, that's perfect, and it's so true. People love to start. They have all this energy when they start. They're so excited, and then 6 months in, you're like, man, I quit that. what happened? You know, same thing with food, diets, workouts. You'll be like, man, you're
Right.
doing a marathon. Yeah, I quit that. What happened? So it's like the follow through. It's like people won't remember what you start. They'll remember what you finish. And so that's super important that you've said that. And mentoring is important as well. I feel like if people are pouring into us, then we can pour into others. And it's an
Right.
ongoing process. Um, so David, you know, how did you finance this book? You know, most people are gonna be like, man, David, 2 years, how did you finance this? How did you finance your business?
Well, well, I know that in entrepreneurship, jobs are frowned upon. You know, having a job is frowned upon in entrepreneurship, but that's actually how I financed, you know, my book. I was working through Masons before I decided to become an entrepreneur now. Um, am I where I want to be in entrepreneurship? No, of course not, because I just started. You know, I just started not too long ago. So I know it takes time. But when I was very first starting, when I had to come up with a website, when I had to come up with ebook covers for my book ideas, when I had to come up with banners and flyers and stuff like that, I was working. I had a job. So that's how I financed it. Um, I mean, I'm making a little bit of money now with my ebooks, but initially in the beginning, it was having a job, you know, and I think that's I think that's another problem in terms of sometimes in entrepreneurship, some people tend to think that they're better than working at a job, but you need a job. Technically speaking, you need a job when you are just starting out or when you're just getting your idea off the ground.
You know, David, that is actually so true. We have so many people who tell you they started their side business and side hustle while working a full-time job. And I
Right,
actually encourage people to do that. I encourage them to stay the course. Like there's a difference between fast money and slow money. You know, your business may
right,
be slow money. You may have a bunch of sales at Christmas. You may have a bunch of, sales go through at one point or one season or just in the summer. But if
right,
you have oncurring bills and you haven't set up that passive income to surpass it, you know, like if you're still like, I need, you know, $2,000 or $3,000 a month to just live, then I encourage people to stay in their job because there's plenty of hours in the week to still work on your business ideas.
right, exactly.
So if David, if you know, where do you see yourself in the next 2 years with your book and your business?
Um, well, I'm glad you asked me that question. If you had asked me 2 years ago, I would not know. I would not know where my business would be. But I definitely have an idea of it now. You know, especially now that my ebook has had some success in it. I could see myself in Amazon's bestsellers list. That is my goal. Um, I could see myself going um, on television to Steve Harvey. That is one of my goals too. Um, I would like to uh, go on the Oprah Winfrey Show also. I could definitely see that happening once I get to a certain level. Um, I would think those are like my main two or three goals right now. You know, I definitely want to get on TV with it because the cover draws a lot of attention. You know, and as you know, when you're working on books, the cover is half the battle. You know, if people like the cover, they'll usually buy the ebook or the book or whatever. Um, so right now, like television is my main focus. I definitely would like to go on TV at some point.
Oh, okay, okay, got you. Do you plan on doing any speeches? Do you plan on stopping by any schools?
Yeah, of course. I've actually been looking into motivational speaking also. Um, I don't know where, you know, what school yet. But that's something I'm looking into also. And then also, my book will be available in different languages, not just English, but also French, Spanish, and possibly maybe Arabic, depending on if I get that target market. Because I know that there's a lot of Spanish people in the world and French and stuff like that. So um, that's one thing I'm looking to do, and then I'm also looking into possibly making it like a short film or a short movie. Some people have encouraged me to do like a lifestyle, a lifestyle movie about somebody who um, starts off in like the slums, something like that, and then works their way up to like a lifestyle of luxury or something like that. So that's definitely on the table too. So right now it's uh, having a book in multiple languages, movies, motivational speaking, uh, and I think that's pretty much it. My plate is full.
That does sound like your plate is full. I mean, I think that's wonderful. At least you have the ideal. And a lot of Middle Eastern people speak French. I have a friend who's from Egypt, and like she can read French better than she can read English. So I think French is a overlooked language for sure. Especially since the
Yes.
people think everyone should know English. Well, I mean, in the Asian world, Korea, maybe China, yes, they study English for a long period of time. But a lot of
Right.
people study French, which is unique. French and Spanish. So I think that's pretty cool.
Good.
Um, so keep me posted on when you translate the book over into English and to French and Spanish. I'll totally be like, hey, look, everybody, it's now big
Hey,
time.
that works. That would be
um,
perfect.
so I love when people go speak at schools. It's like one of the easiest things to kind of slide in there and do, because
Yeah.
schools are always looking for speakers. It's some really great opportunities there. So give us kind of an ideal about the book so that our readers can go, I need to grab this book. What is it about?
Well, basically, the book itself is um, about entrepreneurship. Believe it or not, I wanted to take a different approach to entrepreneurship because of the simple fact that I've read a lot of entrepreneurial books. I read books like The Entrepreneur Mind and Rich Dad Poor Dad. Um, and one of the things that I noticed is that sometimes being quiet in entrepreneurship is kind of frowned upon. Um, and so that was, and then when I read that, my first reaction was, well, why not? If that's just in your character, then that's just who you are. And that's something that you can't really control. And so um, I just disagreed with this idea that you have to be um, loud and boisterous and outgoing to be an entrepreneur. I just disagree with that concept. And so um, my ebook is kind of like a response. It's kind of like, well, if that's just in your character, then that's just who you are. So why can't you be a quiet entrepreneur if you want to?
Oh, there's a great book. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called The Power of Quiet. It's about entrepreneurs succeeding and introverts succeeding in business
Yeah,
because they'll be the last person to answer at a table. So everybody throws their
right.
answer out. The introvert has waited, and now they've given an answer, and their answer is correct because they've actually heard all the wrong answers.
Right.
So there is power in being an introvert
True, very
and being
true.
quiet.
I have
Um,
heard of that book. I have heard of that book. I haven't bought it yet, but I have heard of it though, definitely.
I have a lot of friends who are introverts and they're engineers, and so therefore they have a hard time going, well, I don't need to be loud and boisterous, and I still have the right answer. And I'm like,
Right.
that's good. What you need is the right answer. Um, so, David, if someone came to you, they're in New York and they're like, I want to start my life all over. What kind of answers, what kind of mentoring could you give them if they like, I need to start over today? What can they get from you? What can they think about?
Um, if they wanted to start their life over,
Yeah.
completely over, um, hmm, I would say I would say have a roadmap. Like have a roadmap for what you want. You know, and I would also give them the example that I jumped around a lot before I really figured out what it was that I wanted to do. So I would encourage them to get like a roadmap. Like me and my friend used to talk about this all the time, like a blueprint.
Yeah.
Have a blueprint. Like I'm pretty sure they still do it. Like astrology, birth charts, and blueprints. Make sure
Hmm.
that you have a blueprint. Because that plays a big part in your obstacles, what opportunities you may get, what kind of people you may meet. So it's definitely important to have a blueprint. You know, um, And going back to your original question before, when I was jumping around through different career paths and stuff like that, I realized that it did not suit me, and that's why it didn't really go anywhere. But now that I made the entrepreneurial decision and I'm an entrepreneur now, a lot of the things that have come after I made my decision have suited me perfectly, and they blended in with my decision to write a book, to start a business, or whatever the case may be. So having a blueprint is extremely important, because if you don't have a blueprint, what'll happen is you'll end up working at a job or doing something that you don't like that disagrees with what you're calling, what your blueprint, whatever it is that you want to call it, may be. So having a blueprint is extremely important.
Man, that is so important. There's a thing called backwards blueprint. It's like, what do you want? Now work your way backwards. And that's so true. Like, if you don't know what you want and where you're trying to go, or how many trips you're trying to take, how much money you're trying to make a year, any of these things,
Right.
you're gonna just coast, and you're gonna be just floating because you have no idea what is the chart for your life. And so, same thing with real estate, same thing with entrepreneurship, sales. People need a blueprint to get there. That's just so very accurate. I mean, so David, where can people find you and find your book?
My book is available on Amazon, and then it's also available on the Nook tablet. I think it's called the NookPress.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's also available on the Nook. I was going to make it available on iTunes also, but I did some research, and that would not be the best decision, because iTunes takes, I think, like 25% of your profit. So,
Gotcha.
so that wouldn't be like the best decision. So right now it's available on the NookPress.com and Amazon. And then I can
Okay.
also, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I can be found on Facebook. My Facebook name is DavidKayles, and my last name is Williams. I can be found on Twitter. My Twitter is Williams and then Shady. My Instagram is Laidback Billionaire. I'm not a billionaire yet, but I will get there. Um, and I think that's pretty much it. I mainly use Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
That's great. I mean, that's how I found you. I found you via Facebook. Someone going, here, this book is great. Or here, my friend David made this book. And then just through different likes, what we call 6 degrees of separation, I was able to see your book cover, and more about you. So I think it's a very powerful tool people can use to get out there. Social media is very, very powerful. And don't worry about the billionaire status, because, Colonel Sanders started at 60. So at least you're starting 30 years earlier. And that's what I tell everybody. When people get nervous, like, I'm never going to be a millionaire, I'm like, hey, Colonel Sanders was 60, dude. We've got time. We just got to blueprint it out.
I like that statement. I like that.
So listen, everybody, this is Erica from the Classy Climb blog, coming today with this Slow and Low series from David Williams, author of Eagle's Eye with the Lion's Heart. Go out and grab his book. You guys have a great day, and thank you for your time, David.
Anytime. Look forward to doing it again.